early on you said that you went on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
Now for me, that's like a dream of mine, because he's like the man in podcasting.
Yeah.
What was it like meeting him, and what was he like?
Also, how did that come about? Because that,
I mean-
obviously your sort of podcast evolution was partly through looking up to him.
Yeah.
It must be a weird experience.
It was a huge moment in my life for it to happen, because of course I'm a banker. I'm watching Rogan, right? So I'm watching these interviews. Like I said, back when it was on Vimeo, when he did him in his house, the split screen with Duncan Trussell like falling asleep and Red Band and all that stuff. And then of course we do the show, and we're publishing and things like that. And occasionally we would tag him in a tweet or this kind of thing. But we thought maybe one day, if the UFC comes to London, he maybe would come on the show. That's what we were just thinking. And of course, back then, it's hard to imagine there weren't that many podcasts and there weren't that many YouTube channels. And so it was just a hope. And then about a year in like 12 months or 14 months, we saw that he would be like commenting on one of our YouTube videos or something here. And we're like, no, that's an intern. There's no way that's Joe. And doing these kinds of things. And then he responded to like a tweet. And then finally, on the back of something, he just said, hey, why don't you guys come on the show? And for me, it was like this. It was like you're on Earth and you're broadcasting messages out to like the universe, hoping an alien will hear you and then reply. And for us, we're just broadcasting in London. The last thing we ever think is that Rogan is going to hear what we're saying, recognize us, and then invite us on the show. And so once he did that, we found an excuse to be in LA. And basically, we flew there as soon as possible, and then we went on a show, and it was a huge deal. It was a long time ago as well.
How did you find him as a person?
Super warm. He's like a gorilla of a guy. Like he's really just built like a gorilla. Gave us a hug right when we came in. This was at the old Ice House Studios. Red Band was there. Really nice guy as well. And 3 hours of conversation. I decided I wasn't going to smoke any weed before because I just can't function on it whatsoever. And my co-host decided he wouldn't either. And yet when Joe passed him the thing, I just literally watched him grab it and take it. And I was just like, okay, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then right when the show started, Joe took a bottle of Alpha Brain and he starts shaking it. And he starts going like an Indian chant, like American Indian, like, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey. And we're in this Ice House studio, and there's all these funny lights, and Red Band's got like a mannequin.
That old studio looked so like hippie.
Yeah,
like,
in the corner, and Joe's doing this thing, and we're in the headphones, and Nick turns to me and he said, Brian, I'm fucked. And I look at him and I'm like, okay, so I get to do this solo for the next 3 hours, and it was just like, oh man. So him and Joe were talking about who would win, a lion or a tiger, for like 45 minutes, and I was just like, okay, guys, let's talk about something else. So look, it was a lot of fun. It was a huge honor to be on there, and a real seminal.
He's about to have 1,000 podcasts.
Yeah, he's about to hit the 1,000. Yeah,
man, that's
and now, I mean, you can get 1 million views if you go on a show. Back when we did it, it was much smaller. I think the most important thing to realize about being on Rogan is that once you're on Rogan, and I remember telling this to Nick, we had to come back to London and get back to business.
Yeah,
it's like none of these moments make it easy street. You have to get back to your knitting and do your work, so that's what we did.
But did he ever work out which would win, a lion or a tiger? Because that's actually quite an interesting
Actually,
question,
the
isn't
answer
it?
for that.
Oh, do you?
A gorilla
I've
or
watched
a
that.
tiger?
A gorilla or a
really?
tiger?
Gorilla.
Oh, okay.
A lion and a tiger, usually a lion wins.
Why?
Because a tiger is a killing animal, whereas a lion is a fighting animal.
Right.
And the lion has a mane which protects its neck.
Which is the key
and the
bit,
tiger always goes for the neck. So when it can't latch onto the neck and kill it, it just tires out, and then the lion beats the fuck out of it.